Henny from Time Investments, thank you very much for speaking at the event today.
It's a pleasure.
BPR Masterclass, you talked to us about sourcing BPR products and the sorts of questions that advisors need to ask when they're looking at product providers.
Yep.
What for you are the key areas that they need to look at?
It's looking at things like the robustness of the provider. There are now a range of providers in the market. Some have been around longer than others. It's looking at the underlying trades. If you're looking at a managed service or a managed solution, looking at the underlying trades, assessing the appropriateness for the attitude to risk that the client has, looking at things like liquidity, genuine liquidity, also addressing the client's perceived risk for liquidity or perhaps real risk for liquidity, and just actually getting properly under the bonnet of what does the proposition actually do, to be able to actually take it to clients in an appropriate manner.
And you mentioned in your presentation the phrase, the sort of intellectual capacity of the management team, and I said that's something that came up in our survey. Yeah. Advisors and investors both rated that very highly as one of their decision-making criteria. So what sort of level of experience would you expect to see from the teams running these? What sort of things should advisors be looking for when they look at the management team, the investment philosophy, the investment house?
Yeah, I think when it comes to assessing BPR, it's the research that an advisor needs to do into that market is very different to researching the fund market, for example. So I would expect to see an investment team who's had years of experience running BPR, successfully maintaining BPR and achieving qualification for the investors, because of course with BPR a business could be qualifying today. The crucial point for a client is actually, does that business continue to qualify, and is it qualifying at their point of death? And when you're looking at the capacity of the investment team that's running a BPR service, it's also looking at things like the scalability of the trades that they choose to engage into. You can only be an expert in certain areas. How scalable are those individual areas of expertise that a provider is investing and engaging in? I think those are quite important areas.
It makes logical sense. If these products are going to go on and on and on, and they're going to get more and more new money coming in, they've got to be able to find a home for that money. Is that right?
Need to be able to find a home for it, need to be able to manage liquidity, or to actually allow redemptions as they happen, either on an ad hoc basis or for clients seeking a regular income or withdrawal opportunity. And of course the most crucial thing is their liquidity for investors, for the family, once it's done its job and probate's been granted and the provider gets a request to liquidate the investment and pay out to the family.
And talk to us a little bit about the underlying trades that Time carry out. What sort of trades are they? What sort of companies are you looking at? What are your investment criteria?
We sit very much in the capital preservation focused end of the BPR market, which means we do like asset-backed trades, we like tangible assets, we like trades where there is predictable income on a recurring basis long term. So that means we will look at things like providing construction capital to property developers. So it's a lending business where we take security over the properties to actually help mitigate risk. We will look at things in the renewable sector, so typically that will be the solar and the wind industry, where we've seen that they've become non-qualifying under EIS rules due to the predictable nature of the trades and the assets, but still fit beautifully as long-term trading assets for BPR. And we also look at things like self-storage, so perhaps a bit quirkier, but again with asset backing, long-term predictable income streams. It tends to be the type of things we like.
And one area I wanted to particularly focus in on, it came out today, and I'm not sure that everyone's aware of this, but a business that's holding a lot of cash, for example, they actually lose their BPR qualification because that cash is an exempt asset.
Correct.
But Time have some products that address that. So just tell us about Time's corporate products.
Well, we run the same underlying trades whether the investor is a private individual or a corporate client, in that capital preservation is where we focus our efforts and attention. But for business owners where actually they've built up significant amounts of cash which are above their working capital requirements, they may get to a stage where they've either lost trading status completely or will find that they'll only get BPR on part of the value of a business. For those clients, we do have a solution that will allow them to basically set up a bespoke subsidiary into which they can transfer their surplus cash, this is above working capital requirements. The subsidiary will then engage in the trades that we run for BPR, which will help reinstate trading status for the business, maintain it until such time that actually it's required, with typically a senior director or somebody passing away. In some instances, it also just produces a slightly better return on cash, in that cash at the moment is not producing particularly exciting returns.
Makes absolute sense. And is this good business for advisors to get into, the corporate side and the individual side? Is it something you're seeing more demand from advisors? Absolutely.
It's, as I suppose even advice has become more commoditised, this is one of the areas where clients see genuine value add, and the majority of consumers, it's an area where they don't feel they themselves could successfully help reduce the IHT liability on their estate. And as an advisor, if you can help families leave legacies to their loved ones, it has such an impact on the families that they're actually working with. And it's not just looking at your client today, but actually looking at the intergenerational planning and building a long-term business and building long-term client relationships. So yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant. Henny, thank you very much for speaking today.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks for your input in the interview, and hopefully we'll see you at another event soon. Thank you.
Hopefully so. Thank you.